school here or college, this information is going to be very helpful for me. And I have a senior as well. And today we have two amazing speakers. One is Ms. Galloway, who everybody is very familiar with. She is our college readiness counselor shared between three schools. And also we have Sarah, who is one of our parents, and she is also a college readiness counselor for Pasadena ISD, who volunteered to share very informative information for our parents. So thank you both, and we can have the session started. So Ms. Galloway, you're going to go first.
Yes, I'm here. So good evening to everyone. Again, it's always a pleasure to do these sessions with you guys. I'm super thankful that the Carnegie PTO kind of, puts a priority on college readiness, because I know there's a lot of moving parts to it. And so I'm definitely excited to be helping you guys kind of navigate what that process looks like for your students. So yes, my name is Ms. Galloway. I do serve as the college advisor for Carnegie, Vanguard, DeBakey, and HSPVA. This is my third year at these campuses. And so I'm really excited that I was able to return and to continue not only service your campus, but also your students. And so we're also going to talk about the presentation. Do you guys want me to share the presentation? Or
Yes.
I don't know if you...
Yes, please.
Okay, gotcha. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Ms. Galloway, while you're doing that, if I can ask, so this is one of our first calls for this season, and it would be really helpful for us to know where you get your information, so where you heard about this call. That way we can make sure to advertise in all those right spots. If you can put that in chat, if you heard it on WhatsApp or Facebook or Insta or email, whichever method you heard about the call, if you can put that in chat as we get started, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and while she's sharing, one more thing, like if at all you have any questions, please put that in the chat as well while the speakers go through that session, and we will have that answered at the end of their sessions. Are you able to share, Ms. Galloway?
I think she's on
Yeah.
mute.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I know. I was having an issue earlier because it keeps saying, I know it was something that me and Miss Sarah put together, and it keeps saying that I need to have share access, but hold on, I have it right here. Okay, here it is. Okay, I got it. I got it. Okay, are you guys able to see it? I don't think you guys can see it.
Not yet.
I can try to see if it works for me, Ms. Galloway, and let me try real quick.
Let's see, I have it right. Oh, it looks like you have it.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can see it now.
Okay, I'll present it, and then if you can just tell me when to do next slide, Ms. Galloway.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so with the present, oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to say something, Ms. Amani? Okay. So we're going to be talking about, there's kind of going to be two kind of aspects to this presentation. I'm going to kind of go over the timeline. So what each grade level should kind of focus on as they're going through their high school experience. And then Ms. Sarah is also going to cover the various platforms that your students will be using once they get to their senior year to start applying for college. And so I'm going to go through 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade year and kind of let you guys know, okay, what should my student be focusing on at this present time? And so you can go to the next slide. So 9th grader, for any of you who have freshmen on the call, if you like, you can say, oh, I do have a freshman. So just considering that your student's senior year, when they're applying to colleges and the counselors are sending documents like transcripts and stuff like that, all the colleges are really primarily going to see our 9th, 10th, and 11th grade year. So it's super important that, especially if you have a student who's going to Carnegie, it can be very academically rigorous and very challenging. So it's super important that if you do have a freshman, we really just want them to, one, get used to the high school landscape, but also just ensuring that they're maintaining their grades, being that when they're applying, they do see 9th, 10th, and 11th grade year on their transcript. And then also, if they're able to maybe get involved, join any clubs or organizations. I know most of our campuses may have club fairs. And so when you get into 9th grade, we don't want the students to stress. We don't want them to feel as if they have to be necessarily focusing on college at this present moment. It's just super important that they're doing well in their classes. If they have questions, ensuring that they're reaching out to their teachers. They need help, ensuring that they're asking for that help as well. Also, it's super important that the students are checking their emails. I know that I often, I send a lot of emails regarding scholarship opportunities, any summer bridge opportunities. Maybe sometimes we do get volunteer opportunities around the city. And so as freshmen, they may not get a lot of those emails from me in the beginning, but they usually get a bulk of those emails their junior year. However, it's just super important that they get in the habit of checking their HISD email, because that's how we're going to communicate a lot of opportunities and stuff like that. So I know a lot of students, maybe they pay attention to the screens where there's a lot of flyers. Also, maybe they listen to the announcements, but also we do try to follow up and send a lot of those opportunities via email. So if you have a freshman, it's okay, they can breathe. It's just really important right now that they focus on their academics at Carnegie and they do well, or HSPVA if they're HSPVA. And so now we can talk about what 10th graders or sophomores should be focusing on. And it's going to be pretty much of the same thing, just ensuring that they're doing well in their classes and also that they're getting involved, whether that's just participating or taking on leadership opportunities within those clubs. I think it's super important that oftentimes there are some, maybe not a lot, but there's sometimes a lot of summer bridge opportunities. So I know, for example, Rice has some, University of Houston, they usually don't publicize these until the spring semester. But what we will do is if students are interested in those opportunities, we almost always send them out via email, and there is an application process. But this is a way that they can start building their extracurriculars list, or their kind of like portfolio or profile when they start applying to colleges. Also, they encourage them to attend college fairs. So if you guys aren't aware, we do have a college fair we're collaborating with. It is between HSPVA and Carnegie. It will be at HSPVA. And so it's important that they go to those college fairs, they get familiar with asking questions, understanding what the admissions process looks like, and stuff like that. So that's super important as well. And so for the 11th graders, we're going to start to get into a little bit more of like the meat part of it. But again, it's super important that they focus on their grades. I would say 11th grade is kind of the opportunity, again, since they're seeing 9th, 10th, and 11th grade year on their transcript when they're applying their senior year. Super important. This is their opportunity to really solidify those grades on their transcripts. They should also just ensure that they're staying involved. So whether that's in any kind of organizations on or off campus, or maybe they hold some kind of employment or job, that's super important as well. Also, 11th grade is when our campuses start opening up college visits. And so it's super important that the students are logging into school links and they can see which colleges are coming on campus via school links. We do ask that they register for those college visits. I know at HSPVA, all college visits happen during lunch. And then at Carnegie, they're happening either during lunch or during ADVO. And so if students want to see which colleges are coming, like today at Carnegie, we had UT Austin, and I think we had Eckerd College. And I know today at HSPVA, we had University of Southern California. So for the most part, these colleges are visiting the same campuses, maybe on different days. But if you want a list of what colleges are visiting the campus, just make sure you log into School Links and you look at that. Also, 11th grade is super important because this is where we're starting to get into PSAT and national merit, especially if you want to be considered for any kind of scholarship opportunities. And so there is a district-wide PSAT on October 16th at every HISD high school for the 11th graders. So it's super important, especially if students want to be considered for national merit. It's super important that they take that very seriously. And then I would also recommend Revolution Prep. They are kind of like a testing prep organization or agency. And so all grade levels have received information. Even though they offer services for a cost, they always give us the opportunity to send our students free practice tests. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my email address in the chat. And if you guys it was definitely sent to your student, but if you would like me to send you that information, I can forward you the information that we send to the students. But I know this weekend they have a free PSAT practice exam, and then they have an SAT practice exam in 2 weeks. I think they have 2 of those. So that's information you're interested in. Please just reach out to me via email and I'll send it to you. And the exams are free, they're practice. And so if your student kind of wants to get an idea of what they'll see on the exam, those are definitely some really great opportunities. So with 11th grade, it's important to start drafting maybe a preliminary college list. So maybe a list of schools that you're interested in applying to. We do understand that, your mind is going to change. There's going to be like a difference of things that you're interested in, but just to start getting into your head, okay, what kind of colleges am I interested in? I know oftentimes at both campuses, the fall semester is primarily focused on the seniors, but we do start working super, super heavily with the juniors in the spring semester because we're starting to let you guys know like, hey, next year is your time and what they can start preparing for, especially in the summer. It's also super important that the students are familiarizing themselves with School Links. I'm going to talk a little bit about School Links on the next slide, but School Links is super important with your college application process. And then also if there are any summer bridge or fly-in programs that juniors can participate in, we usually get these a lot in the spring semester and we send them via email. Fly-in programs are super great because it's an opportunity for you to fly into the school, and most of the times they pay for room and board, they pay for your flight, and it's an opportunity for you to kind of immerse yourself in that college's experience pretty much almost for free. And so those are pretty good opportunities as well. On the next slide, for the seniors, the seniors are they're working on a lot right now. This is kind of a breakdown of what seniors will be focusing on in the fall semester. Also, some of these things are interchangeable. Some of them can be out of order, but we've noticed that most seniors kind of stick to this. So of course, we let out in early June. And so this is an opportunity, for students who are probably traveling. They're taking the time to relax and reset from the previous school year. And then we also have some students who are doing any kind of summer bridge programs or any kind of mentorship opportunities in the summer as well. And then this is a time where students are kind of starting to finalize their college visit. Not college visit, their college list, what schools they're going to start applying to. August is when most college applications open. Some open in September, but for the majority, most of them are opening August 1st via Common App or Apply Texas. And so it's super important that before students come back, I highly encourage them to have a list already finalized. But not only that, it's important that the students are brainstorming their personal statement. I think it's safe to say that at both campuses, our students are applying to highly selective colleges and universities. And so while grades are super, super important, with these highly selective schools, they're aware that they're going to get students with the grades, the test scores, but it's really important that students understand how to market themselves and that they understand how to set themselves apart from other students. And so the application process in itself is not super hard, but I've noticed that a lot of students, what kind of is, I don't want to say prohibiting, but what keeps them from pressing submit is oftentimes they're working on finalizing their essay. So the more brainstorming and the more drafts you can do in the summer, I think the easier your senior year will be. In the summer, it's also important that they're creating their accounts. So Apply Texas and Common App, I'm going to let Ms. Carnes talk about that in the next section of the presentation. And then also making sure that their activities list, so what they've been involved in, whether that's clubs, organizations, any internships or mentorship opportunities that they've been in, that they're putting that on paper in a resume, and that they have that ready to go to input into Common App. So September, students are already in the thicket. They're starting to at least, apply to colleges, maybe not pressing submit, but they're getting their Common App information in. They're starting to request letters of recommendation, which is where School Links comes in. School Links is super important because as students are applying to these colleges, they're going to need documents. So they're going to need maybe a counselor rec, letters of recommendation from their teachers, transcripts, various reports, right? And so all of that stuff is sent by the counselors in School Links, which is why it's so important. And we want students to understand that this is our second year as a district using School Links. And I would like to think that it's a lot better than Naviance, and it's a little bit more current, but it's super important that students understand School Links, they know how it works, so that their senior year, they're good to go. And then September, students, it's really important that they're working on their personal statement. I offer to read and review students' personal statements. I just ask that if they send it to me, to give me at least 5 to 7 days to read and review, because I'm reading them for all my campuses. But super important that they're not only getting my eye on their personal statements, but they're also getting other trusted individuals to review their personal statements as well. Oftentimes, there could be something that I catch that someone else didn't catch, or something I didn't catch that someone else could catch. So it's super important that they get multiple eyes on their personal statement. I think the personal statement is super important because students have to keep in mind that, let's say, for example, you have a student with a 4.5 GPA and maybe they have a 1450 on the SAT. While those are super great academic profiles and stats, students have to keep in mind that there could be a student in, I don't know, Alaska with the same academic profile as them. And so students have to figure out how can they set themselves apart. And so I think the biggest way to do that is within their personal statement and their supplements. So there's a lot of writing involved in the college application process. And so I think the sooner that they can kind of work on those things and view those prompts in the summer, the smoother sailing their senior year is going to be. October is when we kind of start to get into some deadlines that are coming up. So this year, UT Austin, this is their first year introducing early action as one of their deadlines. So October 15th is kind of one of the earlier deadlines for Texas A&M engineering specifically, and for UT Austin early action. And then of course, if we have any students applying early decision, November 1st is going to kind of be one of those sooner deadlines as well. And then heading into November, that's when we start getting into the thicket of early action deadlines. And sometimes we do encourage our students, the earlier you apply, the sooner you'll hear a decision. That's all early action means. But also, sometimes applying early action could facilitate some scholarship opportunities. And so the earlier that you apply, sometimes you can kind of get scholarship offers within your admissions letters. And then also around this time, it's super important that students are kind of wrapping up their personal statement, because December 1st is another one of those huge deadlines, especially for UT Austin and Texas A&M. So it's super important that students are wrapping those things up. And then of course, December 1st, which this has changed over the years, but December 1st is when financial aid is opening this year. And so financial aid is a graduation requirement in the state of Texas. And I think this is like the 3rd or 4th year that this has been a thing. But December 1st is when we'll start talking about financial aid and ensuring that students complete that. And then also, we do encourage all seniors to, they should have all their applications in by Christmas break. That gives them the opportunity to really sit back and enjoy their Christmas break. At this point, they're just sitting back and they're waiting to hear decisions. And I did hear a question, the difference between early action and early decision. So I'll start with early decision first. We often say ED. For early decision, all early decision means is if you apply to this institution and you are accepted, you are committed to going. So it is a binding decision. So a contract does have to be signed between you as the parent, your student, and their counselor. And so I encourage students only apply early decision if this is a school that you really, really, really really want to go to, meaning that if you're accepted to this school, you are totally okay with withdrawing all your other applications and going to this school. The only thing about early decision is that we do encourage families, of course, to sit down and do the net price calculator. All the net price calculator is putting in certain information about like income, finances, and it's going to spit out a number. And so the number that it spits out at you is the number that they may be expecting you to contribute to your student's education. So if it's a really low number, maybe that's a good school to ED to. If it's really high, of course, those are just conversations that you want to have with your student, ensuring that, it's a feasible option. And then all early action means, which you'll hear us say EA, all early action means is apply early, get a decision early. That's essentially all it means. But it doesn't mean that you're committing to that school. You still have time to figure out, okay, I was accepted, but I still want to keep my options open. So ED binding, a little restrictive. If you're accepted, you can only apply ED to one school, but you can apply early action to as many schools as you like.
Yeah,
And that,
Mhm.
yeah, of course, that's a senior timeline.
Yeah, and two more questions are there, Ms. Galloway. One is, will parents have access to school link?
Yes, parents do have access to school links. It's like an access code or a claim code. The only thing is that counselors and myself, we don't have access to those codes. What you'll have to do is you'll have to have your student log into school links, and they can show you how to put the code in so that you have access. I know at Carnegie and at HSPVA, we did meet with the seniors and we walked them through how to set everything up. And we did show them like, hey, in the event that your parent wants access, this is how they can get access to that. And so, yes, parents do have access to school links.
Okay, and one more question to elaborate on regarding grades. So what is exactly looked for, end year or every semester grades? So
yes, that's a good question. Yeah, so it's their semester grades. So whenever you look at their transcript, of course, it'll say the class and then semester 1 and of course semester 2. So yes, semester grades every semester.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have a question? I saw a hand raised. Okay, maybe not. Okay, you can continue.
Yeah, so that's the senior year timeline, and then I'll let Ms. Sarah take it away with the different platforms to apply for colleges.
Okay, thanks so much, Ms. Galloway. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for attending tonight, and thanks so much to Ms. Galloway for partnering with me on this series topic. I'm Sarah Carnes. My daughter Cameron is a senior at Carnegie, and I've been working in college counseling on a high school campus since 2008. So each year I help around, our senior class is usually around 600 students, and we help all of them apply to college, do the FAFSA or TASFA, register for the SAT and ACT, just basically all things college come through my college room, and that's where my office is located. So I've definitely seen it all, and I've learned over the years that the whole college applications process is ever changing. So definitely I encourage students to always check the university's website so that they have the most up-to-date information, because even things that I'm just 100% confident that I know it's been the same forever, the next thing I know, it will change. So definitely always double check, verify as much as possible to be diligent in meeting deadlines. And that's super important in the college application process. So I'm going to go over the two most frequently used college application platforms for Texas students, Apply Texas and Common App. There's pros and cons to each of the platforms, but the main benefit is that in theory, it's supposed to simplify the application process for the student, and it helps by requiring them to only enter a lot of their information only one time, such as their extracurriculars, their volunteer hours, their senior schedule, their credits, things like that only have to be entered once. And then they can do individual college-specific questions by each college. So that's helpful. But okay, let's go ahead and get started. So first up is applytexas.org. Apply Texas is where students can apply to all of the colleges in Texas except Rice University. They would use Common App, but all public schools are on there. Almost every private school is on there. There is some controversy right now, if I'm being honest, as a college counselor with Apply Texas. They created a brand new website this year, and it was brand new and allegedly improved, but we're seeing some glitches and some issues. I will say they are actively working. They're listening also to input to work out some of the things that are going wrong, but I don't think it's as user-friendly as it was before, but I am still encouraging my Texas applicants, all of my students that are only applying to Texas schools, we're still using Apply Texas. I still find it to be the simplest for that purpose, but I'll tell you some of the issues as we go along. So you can see here on the left where it says what's required in Apply Texas. The first thing is the student creates the account. I always encourage them, use your personal email, never use the school district account because they need access after graduation. Another little glitch we see sometimes students come in very upset. They're not hearing back from their college, or their verification isn't working, and it's just because their cloud is full, or their Google Drive is full. And if that's the case, they may not be getting messages. So just letting you know, some troubleshooting ahead of time. The other issue is with the password. The new Apply Texas requires a 14-character password, and you cannot see what you're typing. So that's fun. With a room full of teenagers, I beg them to open their notes. Now is the time to start using that phone, use your notes app, save everything in the notes app. I encourage them to create a college file and save the passwords. And I tell them, even if it's the password that you think you use all the time for everything, please save it. And then so the next thing they do after creating the account, they answer 5 questions, and that's to help them find the right application. When they answer these 5 questions, what the results should be is that they're eligible to apply for undergraduate programs at 2-year and 4-year colleges. If that's not their result, if their result shows international or graduate or something like that, they have answered something incorrectly and they need to redo those 5 questions. That's pretty rare though. I've been watching and they've been getting to the right place each time. The next thing is core questions. Core questions is going to be thorough, but the good news is they only have to answer core questions 1 time and then they're done. So the core questions will contain things like the student's personal information, some parent information. There's a parent residency page that is ridiculously thorough. So I tell my students, like, definitely involve your parents on that page. And it will also ask them about their senior schedule. But then the part that I tell them that they need to pause and take a moment to fill out is their activities and achievements, their volunteering, community service, summer activities, jobs, internships. I don't know if I already said their honors and awards. So that's something that they want to take a moment, take their time, fill it out, be thorough. And it's all very step by step. There's not a whole lot that they can type in there. There's a character limit when they're describing activities or awards. But and some students, a common question is, if I'm going to send in a resume, do I still need to fill this out? Yes. Every college admissions rep has always told me they want to see those sections filled in. That's the quickest and easiest place for them to view all of those things. And then they can submit the resume as well, but they want the Apply Texas section filled in also. When students finish the core questions, they never have to go back to those. That's complete, and they can select to search school. And so they'll search a college name that they want to apply to. They'll select the semester fall 2025, and they will just answer those school-specific questions. And if the school requires an essay, which is actually only a few in Texas, they'll enter their essay there and submit. So once they get to the school part, it's actually I mean, I'm going to use the word fairly easy. It's not a whole lot with the school specific after they finished all the core questions. After the way Applied Texas works is, so at that point you submit and you're pretty much finished with Applied Texas. It's the student's responsibility after that to send any supplemental items such as paying the application fee, sending SAT, ACT scores, sending the high school transcript. And like Ms. Galloway said, they use School Links for all of that. I agree with her. School Links seems to be better than any program I've ever seen. Ms. Galloway gave a great presentation to seniors where my daughter was able to just jump on there and just add the transcript, do those supplemental steps really quickly, really easily. It was not a problem. But my last little mark there is something that you may need to encourage your teenager to do, just sharing the experience of being around hundreds of teenagers. They need to create their college accounts. So as soon as they apply, within a day or two, the college will typically email them and say, like, thanks for applying to U of H. It's time to set up your My UH account. And that account is going to show them what's missing from their application, what's still being processed. It's the quickest way for them to see if they've been accepted. It's also where their financial aid offer will come in later. It's a great resource. But that said, sometimes the accounts can be a little bit cumbersome. They have to keep up with all of the separate college ID numbers. They have to keep up with the different password requirements. So it can be a bit of a pain, but I've noticed that students will also kind of get on a track of saying like, well, I already knew I was going to A&M, so I'm only going to check my A&M account. And little do they know they have a massive scholarship offer sitting in an account that they just haven't checked yet. That has happened more than a few times in our college room. So make sure that they create every account for all of the colleges they're applying to, and they regularly check those accounts. Also, if you notice that something's missing, like they're not getting an offer you think they would have already received, or you're not getting your financial aid offer and you think that should have come through, there's probably something in their to-do list that they haven't addressed yet, such as just signing a simple form or providing the financial aid office with something, and that's what's holding it up. So definitely encourage your student to create all of those accounts right away and check them frequently. Okay, and then so we go to Common App. Common App is a different application platform. There are well over, like 1,000 partner colleges with Common App. And so what you're going to see on there is a lot of private schools, a lot of the highly selective colleges are on there. If your student is applying to any of the Ivy schools, those will be on there as well. And it's similar in that you create your Common App account, you complete the registration information, and there are tabs on your student's dashboard where they can do a college search to add their schools. After they have the My Colleges tab, it will show all of the requirements, the writing supplements, anything required for that college's application will be listed there. They can complete all the school-specific questions and supplements. There is the part there's a tab that says Common App, and that's going to be just the general application part with the student's information, the courses they took in high school, all of those types of things. I always recommend that my students add these two things as soon as possible. Number one, add their colleges and look at those applications right away, because typically teenagers think, oh, this is my deadline. I've finished the Common App. I'm almost finished. Well, sometimes when they go to add a college, all of a sudden that college you see has 7 short answer questions and 2 additional essays and a creative something or other that needs to be added, which causes some panic sometimes at the last minute. So I always want them to add their colleges as soon as they can so that they can see all that's required and space their time out appropriately. And then the other thing I encourage them to add as soon as possible is their recommenders, because the recommendation requirements are pretty thorough. The recommender has to fill in some stuff about the student, and they have to fill in some information about the school. They have to do a few short answers about the student and then upload a letter as well. So that's something that your student needs to do as soon as possible. So to give those recommenders time to write a great letter of recommendation, submit that brag sheet through School Links. So all of that's super helpful in getting them a good letter. And then the cool thing about the dashboard on Common App, it shows the student's progress, and it also shows the recommender's progress so that the student can see when that recommendation has been submitted. And I encourage my students to, go by, check on your teachers, see if there's any information that you can provide them that helps the recommendation, and then also to write thank yous afterwards, or keep your teacher posted on the progress of where you've been accepted and things like that. Like I said, Ms. Galloway did a demo with the seniors, so they should know how to do that. I see that we have a hand raised. Do you want to share your question right now?
Oh, hi. Yes, this is Lynn Edwards. So I do have a senior, and so you mentioned recommenders needed to be added to the Common App. Is that the same for the Apply Texas?
Apply Texas does not have a space to add recommenders. Students can submit letters of recommendation, usually through the college account that I was talking about.
Okay.
It's optional though. Great
Okay.
question.
And then, so you mentioned that Apply Texas was for all the Texas schools except Rice. Now, is the Common App for all Texas schools? I'm trying to figure out, do we have to do both, or can we do everything through Common App, or really what's the recommended way? What's the easier way?
I think the last time I checked, the Common App has 36 Texas partner schools. So yes, the majority of Texas schools will, or at least some of the bigger colleges, most of the colleges that my students apply to are on Common App. If your student's doing both, you could do Common App. I think I come from a different perspective because the way HISD is doing this, I think I'd have my student do Common App if they could for all of their schools. My students, if they do Common App, they have to wait for the counselor to do certain things. And so some of my students want to know that they want to know the transcript's been sent. They want to know that if they have a fee waiver, it's been sent. And Apply Texas allows that to be in their hands, and Common App puts it in their counselor's hands. And so my students choose Apply Texas a lot of times because of that reason. So since HISD seems to be a little more advanced in terms of the student can just go on their school links and add the transcript and do those kind of things themselves, then they could really do Common App for everything. If they're doing schools outside of Texas that are on Common App already, you could do everything on Common App.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Is it okay if I say something really quickly?
Please, yes, because I'm not familiar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so most of our students aren't going to be using Common App only because, and there are some Texas schools that use Common App, but not all of them do. So we do have some students who may have to use both because a Texas school that they're applying to isn't using Common App. And that's totally okay. But since our district uses school links, even on their Common App, whenever they put in the name of their school, their high school that they're attending, is going to be a message that says, your school uses school links for letters of recommendation and stuff like that. So we usually tell our students all recommendation letters from teachers, like core academic teachers, have to be put in on the school link side. And then if they would like to request a letter of recommendation from like a mentor or a previous boss or anything like that, then they can do that on the Common App side. But we do have some students who use, both of the platforms, and that's totally fine. I just tell students, go into Common App, look at all the schools you want to apply for, and if there's a Texas school that's not on there, then you'll have to use Apply Texas. But as far as like sending the documents and stuff like that, everything is sent via school links. But I do know that some schools, for example, like A&M and UT, may allow the students to upload their own transcript and things like that. So I think sometimes it also varies based on which college they're applying to and how much, I guess, control they give over to the student. I think it just depends. I hope that answers your question. I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm not familiar with the school. This was my first year to see school links with Cameron as a senior, so definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
And then I know we talked about this. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, one question from Nishta, like when can seniors start requesting letters of recommendation? Right now, only when
They can start requesting them now. We usually encourage the students to, of course, don't go into School Links or Common App and just put their information in. We encourage them to have a conversation with the teacher first, because some teachers they may cap at a certain level of students, or some teachers may say, yes, that's fine, but I need, a brag sheet, or I need a resume from you to write it. So we just encourage the students first, have a conversation with the teacher first, get that confirmation, follow up and put it in writing, and then they can go into School Links and request the teacher for the letter of recommendation. But when we met with the seniors 2 weeks ago, we did at Carnegie and at HSPVA, we walked them through exactly how to request them, and that they can go ahead and start asking teachers at this present moment.
Okay, and two more questions. What does it mean when we say connect Common App to School Links account, or School Links, link to brag sheet? What does that mean actually?
Oh yeah, so the students have to Common App and School Links. They're like they talk to each other. That's what we tell the students. They kind of have like this I don't want to call it a contract, but they have an understanding. So students have to link their Common App to School Links. And so that kind of, based on the schools that the students are applying to in Common App, that lets School Links know to tell the counselors, hey, this school wants this document, and then the counselors will send it. And so, yes, if students are applying via Common App, they do have to link their Common App to School Links. And then everything that they're doing in Common App will be reflected in School Links. So if a student submits an application in School Links, then that will be reflected also if a student submits an application in Common App, that will be reflected on School Links. So the two do have to be connected, because Common App and School Links kind of have like this understanding and they talk to each other. But if the students aren't using School Links, that's fine. If the students aren't using Common App, all the terms, I get them mixed up. If the students aren't using Common App, that's okay. What they'll have to do is they'll just have to manually add their schools into School Links. And so it's just super important that they do that, because that's how the documents that the school needs, like transcripts and stuff like that, that's how it's going to get sent to the school.
And what is a brag sheet?
A brag sheet. I know but at both campuses, the counselors do ask for a brag sheet, because especially for the highly selective private schools, the Ivies, not only are they asking for letters of recommendation from teachers, but the counselors also have to write a counselor recommendation as well. And so, of course, understanding that the counselors service the entire school, sometimes they may not always know students the best. And so each school has kind of, the counselors have come up with something called a brag sheet. And so the students can kind of brag on themselves, and they can pretty much tell the counselor everything they've ever done, things like that. And then that's what the counselors use to write the counselor recommendation. And some teachers may also use it as well to write their letter of recommendation.
Okay. Sorry, there is one more question. Out of state universities, are they listed on Common App? I think the answer is yes, right?
Yeah. Out of state schools are on Common App, but there are some schools out of state that don't use Common App. So for example, MIT doesn't use Common App. They use their own kind of application. And also like the UC schools, Cal State schools, they don't use Common App. And so all the students have to do is just go into School Links and manually add those schools into their application list.
Okay.
Okay. And then I know we talked about some of this earlier, but just to go over it again, the difference in all of your deadline options when you're applying to college. Early decision can be a little bit controversial, because some people believe that there's an advantage there, others do not. But statistically, acceptance rates are higher with early decision compared to regular decision. The decision, if you apply early decision and you get accepted, it's binding, and you must withdraw all of your other applications. So the student needs to think long and hard about this and talk to their family about it, because what the student is saying is, if you select me for admission, I'm coming to your school, it's a binding decision, I'm canceling all other applications, and we're going to pay for your university regardless of the financial aid that is given. So definitely do that cost calculator, the net price calculator, and look at the cost of attendance to make sure that that's really something that you want to commit to. And then a safer alternative is early action. You apply early, get an admission decision early. It's non-binding. And like Ms. Galloway said, this year's the first year UT is offering that as well. There is something called restrictive early action. It's technically in its own category, but I put it in that same box as early action. Restrictive early action means that the student is selecting a college and it's the only college that they're selecting restrictive early action. They cannot apply early decision anywhere else. And they can only apply early action to public schools, so, such as UT. They can't do early action for any other private schools. That decision is non-binding, but it's sort of like a hybrid of early action and early decision. And then we have rolling admissions, which this is where colleges review applications as they're received, and students get a much faster admission decision. I put on here usually 4 to 6 weeks. That's in the busy part of application season. So I would say later in September, October, November, it may take 4 to 6 weeks. But my students right now who are applying, they're getting decisions within 5 days from state schools. Like we have decisions from Sam Houston. We have decisions from some of the Texas A&M branch schools like Corpus Christi. So those are really, really fast. And then I think Ms. Galloway said this as well. I think when students are willing to apply early, there is, I'm not going to say, I don't know if I would say a greater chance, but the scholarship offers seem to come in more frequently with those early admission decisions. So I do think that's to their advantage to apply earlier. And then some college, what did I say? They're only notify students of acceptance. Oh, some of the colleges will tell you, such as A&M and UT, they may say like you're accepted because you're top 10%, or for UT, you're top 6%, but they don't let them know about their major yet. So UT will let them know about their major in February when they release the decision. And then there's regular decision. These deadlines are usually late fall, early spring, and it is good for students who want to test one more time, get an SAT or ACT in before that deadline to try to increase that score. I always tell students, though, rather than paying attention to the regular decision deadline, I like them to go on the website and find out when the school's priority deadline, which is priority deadline is sometimes used interchangeably with their scholarship deadline. So for example, University of Houston has a great scholarship called Academic Excellence Scholarship. If the student has what you could even call just like a good, just above average to good SAT score, they will probably be offered that Academic Excellence Scholarship, and they have to have their full University of Houston application submitted and complete by November 1st. So I'd rather them pay attention to that scholarship or priority deadline than just the regular decision deadline. And there was one more thing I was going to say about the deadline, and I cannot remember what it was. It'll come to me, but oh, I know what it was. So some of the schools that have the December 1st deadlines, I really try to tell my students, like, please try to apply before that, because what happens is when it's a December 1st deadline, it's almost always the time we're coming right back from Thanksgiving break, and the student will urgently want these things to be done, like, has my transcript been sent? Why haven't they received my test scores? They're sent electronically, but College Board says it takes 2 weeks. There's a panic there when they wait until December 1st. So I beg and bribe them to get that done a little bit earlier than that. Ideally, I'd love for them to have everything in by the end of October, but again, I also agree with Ms. Galloway. It's usually that essay holding them up. Everything is done but the essay, and they will not click submit until they feel just right. So I just tell them, like, please do not miss deadlines that are to your advantage, like the scholarship deadline, because of that. There's some great essay assistants out there as well. So keep in mind, like, I didn't make a slide about this, but it's just really good for students to understand. It's very different than an essay that they're going to do for their English class. This is really a chance for them to sort of pretend that they're sitting with a college admissions representative, and that person already has their transcript, that person already has their resume. What else would you tell them? Like, really sell yourself, market yourself to that university. So that's their chance to do that. And then I just gave a few Texas examples here of what it looks like for, like we said, University of Texas is doing early action for the first time. So how I have it there, October 15th is the early action deadline. The date in parentheses, October 23rd, is when they want all of the supplemental items by. So the test scores, the transcript, if your student is eligible for a fee waiver, they want the fee waiver or the application fee paid. And then their regular decision is December 1st, all supplemental materials by December 11th. And then the decisions are released either January 15th for early action or February 15th for a regular decision. U of H's scholarship priority is there of November 1st. A&M, they're very serious about that engineering early action. They have different admissions representatives, engineering department reps have told me if that application is not in by October 15th, preferably before that, that the School of Engineering is full. And then you can see the different RICE decisions are there. So again, set up those applicant accounts, monitor everything that's there, pay attention to things that are missing. I will say one thing that is usually frustrating for students is the college will start reaching out right away as soon as they've applied and say, like, we need your scores, we need your transcript, we need your payment, we need this. And so the students will stress because it's a lot. They're getting a lot sent to them repeatedly. They see that it's still red on their account. But, I tell them, especially when it gets to the heavy application part of the season, that it may take up to four to 6 weeks to process. So if you know that you've sent it, and we have a little tracker form our students use, if you checked it on your tracker and you know it's been sent, just please give them the time to process it. If 4 weeks go by and that you still haven't, that little to-do list hasn't turned green on your account, or you haven't heard that it's complete, then call the admissions office and check on it. That was it for me, though. And so we can take any questions, and then both of our emails are here for anyone who needs to reach out.
Any other questions, parents or students you have? We have 5 more minutes or 7 more minutes.
Hi, I have a question. So the scholarships that you're talking about, when does the student know? Is it relative? I mean, we're assuming that this is the school-based scholarship and not the kind of a universal scholarships that you would hunt like Coca-Cola or whatnot. When does that get known? When you apply, or when is that list? Let's say if I'm applying to U of H or UT, when do I know that?
If it's awarded?
No, just a master list of scholarships out there so that I can apply to the many that are available.
I was going to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, I know the district puts together what's called like a hot scholarships list. And so it's usually put together at least 2 months in advance. So I know, I think at the end of last week, I sent out the hot scholarships list for September and October. So students kind of have like a leg up to like get the stuff done. But there's often times where we get sent scholarship opportunities from various organizations that aren't necessarily on that list. And depending on who is eligible for which grade level, I know I'll send it out via email. But I do know that the district does put together some kind of list for students at least 2 months in advance every month. And we send that out to students.
And then also, I always look at that list too. That's a good list that they send out for outside independent scholarships. But can you guys see the screen that I'm sharing now for freshman scholarships?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so just sharing. So sometimes if it's a public college you can look up, and they'll typically show just like a nice little chart like this. I'll search the college name. I put Texas State University assured scholarships, and it will show you the things that they're offering. And then down here, as you open them, you can see the class rank they're looking for, the SAT they're looking for, and the amount that they're willing to award, and sort of what the renewal criteria are. There are a lot of different ones listed. I also ask students when they're planning for their testing with SAT or ACT, some of them are really close to getting one of these awards, and it gives them sort of something to shoot for in terms of a score to get that higher amount, or, you know, to get any of the award amounts. So that's a good thing to sort of shop ahead of time to see what's potentially out there. And then in terms of when they get awarded, some of the colleges will let students know really early that they've been, like the University of Houston Academic Excellence. Our students start hearing, I think, like later in the fall semester sometimes about that one. And then others, it takes a little bit longer into spring semester for them to find out that they were awarded those.
Another really good one that a lot of students don't know about, UH has something called like the Tier 1 scholarship. That's another really good one that's not necessarily considered in admission. Students have to apply to it separately. And then also the Terry Scholars Foundation, they only partner with certain Texas universities that are public, of course, but a lot of students don't know about that either. And I put together like a little cheat sheet for students if that's something they're interested in. We usually, we tell students, you know, to ensure that they have financial safeties on their list. And so Terry Scholars is another really good one. And I'll put the link in there as well. But there are some scholarships that have separate applications, kind of like what you pulled up with Texas State. But a lot of students don't know about Terry Scholars Foundation. I'm going to put that in the chat for you guys as well.
Yes, Terry is life-changing. I tell a student, if you see Terry on the application, I believe they partner with like 13 colleges in Texas. Select yes and do whatever you have to do to apply for Terry.
Okay, thank you. Is there any more question? Dave, you have a question?
Oh, sorry. Yes, this is Lynn and
Oh.
Dave. How did you, Terry, Terry. Thank you. I see that now. So Ms. Galloway, you mentioned that you had some discussions with some of the kids at Carnegie, I guess recently. And then Sarah, I saw your email address. So you have a senior at Carnegie, but you don't actually work at Carnegie.
Right.
Okay. So I guess my question, I know a parent who had a former child at Carnegie, and I think in advocacy class, there was a lot of work done toward applications. So is that happening now, or so I'm coming at this from a parent who really would like much more involvement, but really doesn't have a lot of involvement in this with their son.
Yeah.
Because he's, obviously doing this on his own. So a little bit of anxiety on our part for sure. So I just am hoping that there is a fair amount of guidance at school, or at least I'm asking if there is.
Yeah, so I know, like, and this was either 2-3 weeks ago, but we went into, myself and the two counselors, we went into all of the senior and junior English classes, and we walked the students through, we showed them how to connect their school links to Common App. We also showed them how to do letters of recommendation. Ms. Chapman does like a phenomenal job of explaining, demonstrated interest, networking with colleges and stuff like that, applications, like best tips and things like that. I know this call was kind of like within an hour, but we're in those classes almost, it's like an hour and a half, and we're sharing, and it's a lot, and we tell them it's a lot, especially in one sitting. But we also, during the college visits and during ADVO, I also have like college application workshops. And so I particularly come to Carnegie on Wednesdays. Those are my days because of that long ADVO period. And so we do tell students that stuff, and they can come to the workshops and stuff like that. I know that sometimes the teachers aren't always willing for us to, come into their classrooms and take up a lot of their time. But I do try to be intentional because I know it's a lot because they're still balancing not only trying to pass for the semester for the year, but also trying to figure out what their future looks like as well. And so I really do try my best, at least on those Wednesdays, to offer the space for them to come in. And even if it's just like a quick question about like on Common App or letters of recommendation and stuff like that. If you can, if you could send me an email, I can kind of talk a little bit more in depth and stuff like that.
Okay, awesome. We are right on time. So we have the email IDs if at all you have any questions. And also if there are any other topics you all want to learn more about. So there are 4 more sessions coming up in the next 4 weeks, which is going to cover the college selection process, then having a workshop on essay and resume writing. So we have a couple of topics which you can find on the website. And thank you so much, Ms. Galloway and Sarah. It was very informative, put together in a very simple form, easy to understand. Thank you so much for me. I'm the first time my kid is going to submit the application. And
Hey,
also,
Mary,
yeah.
can I jump in just
Yeah,
real
sure.
quick?
Mhm.
I wanted to do a call out to I know there's a bunch of HSPVA parents on here as well. I do want to say that the links that were put in the chat for where the recording is going to be posted and where the list is for future calls, that link is open to all parents. So it's an open link. You don't have to have an account for that. Save that link and you can come back to it later. There's also recordings on there from last year's calls and from the year before as well. So I know a few things have changed, but not everything has changed. So if there's topics that you're interested in now, or you just want to listen to some college readiness information at your own time, you can do that from there. Thank you, Mary. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so like I said, next 4 weeks, we will be having those 4 sessions. We want to finish, you saw the deadline, right? October 15th, our target to have all the sessions completed prior to that, okay? So you will be receiving emails every week for the next 4 weeks regarding the sessions. And also we have one single place where you can find all the recordings and all the upcoming sessions, every information. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mary and Sarah and Ms. Galloway. You guys did an amazing job. Thank you.
No, thank you. You guys are amazing.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye.